You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
And now, a word from our sponsor, ThreatLocker. Keeping your system secure shouldn't mean constantly reacting to threats. ThreatLocker helps you take a different approach by giving you full control over what software can run in your environment. If it's not approved, it doesn't run. Simple as that. It's a way to stop ransomware and other attacks before they start, without adding extra complexity to your day. See how ThreatLocker can help you lock down your environment at www.threatlocker.com.
Today is June 26th, 2025. I'm Maria Varmazes, and this is T-Minus.
T-minus 20 seconds to LOS T-Dress. Go for deploy. Roger, roll.
The Axiom 4 crew reached the International Space Station.
4.
Axiom Space to increase India's access to LEO with Skyroot Aerospace partnership.
3.
Space VC funding is on track to hit record highs this year.
2.
Xona raises $92 million in a new funding round.
1.
Firefly Aerospace gets approval for orbital launches from S-Range in Sweden.
0.
And our guest today is Andy Crocker. He's an aerospace executive with 3 decades of experience across human and robotic exploration, hypersonics, and missile defense, and now he's adding author to his title list with his new book called The Unconditionals: 5 Timeless Values to Live Without Limits and Ignite Your Superpower. Don't miss our chat in the second half of the show today. Thanks for joining me on this lovely Thursday. Hope you're having a good one. Let's dive in. The Swedish Space Corporation and US-based Firefly Aerospace are moving forward with plans for satellite launches from the S-Range Space Center in Kiruna, Sweden. A technology safeguards agreement signed on June 20th by Sweden and the United States enables United States commercial space launches from Swedish spaceports, namely S-Range. The agreement outlines requirements for handling U.S.-sensitive technology and is only the 6th such agreement that the U.S. has signed globally. With this agreement in place, Firefly Aerospace now plans to launch its Alpha rocket from S-Range's Launch Complex 3C. Infrastructure development is already underway, including tracking and control systems, security facilities, and a launch control center. Executives from both organizations said the agreement removes regulatory barriers and supports the development of an orbital launch capability in mainland Europe. Charlotta Sund, CEO at SSC, said in a press release that adding this capability in mainland Europe will strengthen Sweden and Europe's capabilities and competitiveness in the space arena, as well as our relations with the United States and NATO. Xona Space Systems has announced $92 million in new funding, bringing its total raised to over $150 million. This latest raise includes a Series B led by Craft Ventures and a $20 million StratFi award from SpaceWorks, which is the innovation arm of the U.S. Space Force. Xona is developing a commercial satellite navigation system in low Earth orbit that's designed to offer encrypted centimeter-level positioning and nanosecond-level timing. The company launched its first production-class satellite, the Pulsar 0, this week on the SpaceX Transporter 14 rideshare mission. The Pulsar constellation aims to improve on GPS by broadcasting signals up to 150 times stronger, with better resilience to jamming and spoofing. The system will also work with existing GPS chipsets via firmware update. Xona says its service will begin with early customers in 2026, with full constellation deployment to follow. Moving on now, according to PitchBook, global VC investment in space technology has reached $5.9 billion in 2025, putting the year on track to surpass the previous 2021 record of $7.8 billion. However, funding is increasingly concentrated in more mature startups, with deal count lagging behind last year's. Venture capitalists are placing larger bets on proven space companies rather than seed-stage speculative ventures. This funding surge does highlight strong investor confidence in space infrastructure, such as satellite communications, launch systems, on-orbit servicing, and Earth observation, but it also signals that earlier stage startups may face greater challenges in breaking in. It is something to keep an eye on for sure. Axiom Space has signed a memorandum of understanding with India-based Skyroot Aerospace to collaborate on expanded access to low Earth orbit. The partnership leverages Skyroot's status as India's first private rocket launcher with its Vikram S and upcoming Vikram 1 orbital vehicle, and aims to integrate Indian launch capabilities with Axiom-managed missions and early elements of Axiom Station. It is a fascinating alliance and certainly a strategic move in international space cooperation, providing a blueprint for interoperable LEO launch and orbital services across U.S. and Indian markets, especially as Indian space capabilities in the private sector continue their strong upward trajectory. And speaking of Axiom, the SpaceX Dragon capsule named Grace successfully delivered the Axiom 4 private astronaut crew to the International Space Station today, marking the first ISS visitors from India, Poland, and Hungary in over 40 years. The mission was led by veteran astronaut and former NASA commander Peggy Whitson, and the crew will now spend 2 weeks conducting experiments and outreach while Grace is docked at the station's Harmony module. And that's it for our Intel briefing for you today on this Thursday. As always, there are more items for you to review in our selected reading section of our show notes. So check out the show notes in your podcast app or on our website, which is over at space.n2k.com. One is an in-depth report on the latest on the EU space rules that are in the works. And another is on how, and their words, not mine, how broken NASA IT security is. Not a fun read, but an important one. Hey T-Minus crew, if your business is looking to grow your voice in the industry, expand the reach of your thought leadership, or recruit talent, T-Minus can help. We would love to hear from you. Just send us an email at space@n2k.com or a note through our website, and we can connect about building a program to meet your goals.
Hey everybody, Dave here. I've talked about Delete Me before, and I'm still using it because it still works. It's been a few months now, and I'm just as impressed today as I was when I signed up. Delete Me keeps finding and removing my personal information from data broker sites, and they keep me updated with detailed reports, so I know exactly what's been taken down. I'm genuinely relieved knowing my privacy isn't something I have to worry about every day. The Delete Me team handles everything. It's the set it and forget it peace of mind. And it's not just for individuals. Delete Me also offers solutions for businesses, helping companies protect their employees' personal information and reduce exposure to social engineering and phishing threats. And right now, our listeners get a special deal, 20% off your Delete Me plan. Just go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and use promo code N2K at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/N2K, code N2K.
Our guest today is Andy Crocker, aerospace executive and author of a new book called The Unconditionals: 5 Timeless Values to Live Without Limits and Ignite Your Superpower. He spoke with me about this book and why he wrote it.
I've worked in the aerospace industry for about 30 years. I have worked in missile defense and hypersonics, but the predominance of my career has been on the civil space and some commercial space side. So a lot of work for NASA. And a lot of my career has been in the advanced concepts arena. So developing the new concepts, when Space Shuttle was being retired, we were looking at what's going to replace the Space Shuttle. So coming up with concepts for that. And then more recently with the human landing system and going back to the moon and all the things related to that, worked quite a bit in that area. So that's been a big part of my career, but it's all been in space.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Andy. And we're going to be talking about your career, but also something that you've more recently done. And you've written a book. Please give me the elevator pitch. I'm sure you know this inside and out as an author. The elevator pitch for your book, please.
Right. Yeah. The book is called The Unconditionals. And it, in part, came out of some events in my career. And certainly there are a lot of parts within the book that discuss aspects of my career or other things within space that explain the various concepts in the book. But the elevator pitch really is the unconditionals are the values that I think are critical for living a fulfilled life, no matter what's going on in our lives.
I would love to know the genesis of this book. So was there something that happened in your life or a series of things that made you go, this book is in me and I need to write it down? What was that?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think the long term is that I've always loved writing. I always had thought about putting together ideas that I wanted to share with my kids about what's important in life. So my son was a senior in high school a couple years ago, and the first day of school, kids came home. We were asking about class, and my son said, "I'm a senior," and I was like, "Wow, I really need to get on this if I'm gonna convey to my kids."
Yeah.
The other aspect is in my career, like I said, I've worked a ton of great programs, really exciting programs, but the most fun in terms of individual aspects, but also team aspects, especially team aspects, is working on the human landing system. So about 7 years ago, NASA decided, hey, we really need to go back to the moon with humans again, and this time for real, right? It's been on and off again throughout my career. But the company I was working with jumped in, and we got to compete, and we were a big part of that. And after 2 major competitions, we lost. We competed against Elon Musk's SpaceX and Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin, and had a great concept and had a great time, but ultimately we lost. And when you get through a project like that, 5 years of dedicated time, where you feel like you're chasing the Holy Grail for space, and you don't quite get there. You realize you're not going to get there, at least in that form. It's devastating. So coming away from that and sort of stepping back and saying, what is it I'm going to do next? And I had this grand purpose that was getting humans back to the moon, and this time staying there and establishing a presence. Yeah, and it's not going to happen the way I'd envisioned. So what's my purpose now? And even more than that, what is purpose? What is my life about?
Yeah.
So those things combining, wanting to share with the kids and then saying, like, what do I really think matters? I decided to put it down on paper, and it actually sort of evolved into the book that it became, into The Unconditionals.
That's amazing. I really admire that you took what must have been just a very, very hard experience and turning that into something that you can be proud of in the end. I just wanted to recognize that, because that is extraordinarily difficult. And
I'll say thank you for saying that. And I will say, I consider myself very lucky because, we lost, but I'm still an aerospace engineer. I still get to work
absolutely.
on space projects. I still get to work with great people. One of the more disappointing parts of the project is this great team that we had put together. We all had to go find new things to do, and a lot of them left the company. And so losing that really great team was one of the more difficult parts of it. But the good news is, everybody got to continue on with their careers.
That is a very important thing to keep in perspective. You do need to take a minute, and the minute can be a couple years in some cases, and go, where do I go from here? So I guess that's my question. How did you figure that out? Where
I think it's an ongoing process. For me, I immediately jumped into another project, worked in hypersonics, great project, but that lasted about a year, and I said, I want to do something different. So I actually changed companies and did that for about a year. And actually, just in the last month, it's literally been a month. Yesterday, I stepped back from aerospace and stepped away, and I'm taking time to say, okay, what do I want to do next? Do I really want to continue in aerospace, either in consulting or in project management or business development role, or do I really want to go whole hog into these values and try to convey these values through whether it's consulting or teaching or anything? Because I really do believe in the process of writing the book and then figuring out how to market, both in a literal marketing sense, but also just talking about it. I've come to believe more and more how important these values are.
I'd love to know the title of the book being The Unconditionals. I think that's a fascinating title. A lot of thoughts come to mind when I hear that phrase of like unconditional, like these immutable truths, right? Things that guideposts, perhaps. These are just things that I think of when I hear that. Can you tell me a bit about what does it mean in the context of what you wrote?
Right. So really, there are two core aspects of the book that, as the book evolved, as it turned into what it became, some of it was clear to me early on, and some of it really didn't become clear to later on. So the first part is the 5 values, and those values are love, gratitude, integrity, accountability, and endeavor. I think those 5, and everybody has their own ideas of what really matters, but to me, those 5 really encompass the major aspects of what it takes to live in the world, and eventually, if we do it right, to be fulfilled as people. What will likely come along with that is success in a career, in relationships, and whatever. But it's not about the success. It's about being fulfilled, being happy, and being a model to the people that you're around in how to live. So those 5 values are kind of the first core piece, and the other is unconditional, and that's the piece that really it took me till the very end of the process to figure out. I felt like I was missing something, and what I discovered is unconditional living, which is embracing these values and using them as our guide no matter what's going on. And let me give an example. When we have gratitude, unconditional gratitude means it doesn't matter what we have or don't have. It doesn't matter, what other people have. It doesn't matter what our situation is. We should have gratitude because A, we're alive, most importantly. And then all the things that we do have, everyone, no matter their situation, they may be in a bad situation, but they have something to hold on to that they can be grateful for. And that gratitude can open up opportunities for so many other things. So the unconditionality is the aspect that I really wanted to make sure is important. And that's why I call it the unconditionals, because I really believe that if we can strive to be unconditional, to live unconditionally, and particularly in those values, we'll never get there perfectly, right? We'll never always be that way. But if we can strive for that, it will enable us to have much richer relationships, much more fulfilling careers, much more fulfilling lives in general.
Yeah. I'm struck by what you're saying, and I'm thinking, I'm taking it back to sort of the origin story of your book also. Many people who, peers who are in similar situations to what you described that you went through, working on in aerospace, as we know, these huge multi-year projects. And often the outcome is not what you hoped for, or, you can do everything right and your solution is outstanding, and some budget guy somewhere decided no, or or other outside factors that have nothing to do with the excellence of your work cause it to cease to be, and that can be absolutely devastating. So I guess I'm wondering, specifically to people, your peers, what do you want them to take away from your work, and like what would you tell them?
Yeah, great question. And you're right. There are so many things that we depend on to reach that success in the terms that the world normally defines it. Making money, getting promotions, becoming well known, or whatever it is. And because those things are outside our control, as you said, very often they go in directions where we don't want them to go. And so we lose the path that we thought was the right path for us. If we can instead try to think and speak and behave and act in ways that are unconditional, that is focused on what shouldn't change. And that's really what shouldn't change is who we are. And that means having love, having gratitude, having integrity, accountability, and endeavor unconditionally. Those things are going to come and go, but we are still working on who we are and moving in the direction of becoming better people. And those will continue to be more and more fulfilling for us, for the people we're around, and really for our community.
We'll be right back.
Did you know Active Directory is targeted in 9 out of 10 cyber attacks? Once attackers get in, they can take control of your entire network. That's why Sempris created Purple Knight, the free security assessment tool that scans your Active Directory for hundreds of vulnerabilities and shows you how to fix them. Join thousands of IT pros using Purple Knight to stay ahead of threats. Download it now at sempris.com/purple-knight. That's sempris.com/purple-knight.
Welcome back. It's been a hot minute since we checked in with what the Webb Space Telescope has been up to. And whoa, what's this? Webb may have just snapped its first direct image of an exoplanet? And congratulations, everybody, it's a baby Saturn. Spotted orbiting the young red dwarf TWA-7, this planet candidate that's currently named TWA-7b was spotted nestled in a dusty debris disk just 34 light years away from us. It's faint, cold, and likely weighs in at about 1 of Saturn's mass. And crucially, it is right where astronomers predicted that a planet might be, sculpting the rings of dust around its star. If this finding is confirmed, TWA-7b would be the lightest planet ever imaged outside of our solar system, and the first directly tied to shaping a debris disk. Its discovery adds weight to the long-held theories about how planets carve out rings and gaps as they form. It could also mark the first glimpse of what's called a Trojan disk, which is a potential cloud of dust traveling in sync with the planet. And just as scientists hoped, Webb's high-contrast MIRI, or mid-infrared instrument, is an eagle-eyed hunter for young, distant worlds just like this one. And a reminder that spotting exoplanets is a key goal of Webb's mission. And while the telescope has already studied the atmospheres of known exoplanets, this would be its first direct imaging discovery. The star TWA-7's nearly face-on orientation towards us made it an ideal test case, and because this star is cosmically young, only about 6 million years old, a mere baby, it also offers a rare chance for us to watch planetary formation in progress. So follow-up observation should help confirm the planet's status and deepen our understanding of how planetary systems emerge and evolve. And let's zoom way out for a second. While we have seen exoplanets before, if this one is confirmed, this will be the first time we've ever seen an image of a planet outside of our solar system with Webb specifically. And well, I gotta say, that's pretty darn neat. Well done, Webb. And that's it for T-Minus for June 26th, 2025, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. For additional resources from today's report, check out our show notes at space.n2k.com. We're proud that N2K and podcasts like T-Minus are part of the daily routine of many of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector. from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I am your host, Maria Varmazes. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.
T-minus.
And now a word from our sponsor, SpyCloud. Identity is the new battleground, and attackers are exploiting stolen identities to infiltrate your organization. Traditional defenses can't keep up. SpyCloud's holistic identity threat protection helps security teams uncover and automatically remediate hidden exposures across your users, from breaches, malware, and phishing to neutralize identity-based threats like account takeover, fraud, and ransomware. Don't let invisible threats compromise your business. Get your free corporate darknet exposure report at spycloud.com/cyberwire and see what attackers already know. That's spycloud.com/cyberwire.